So first of all, I want to say thank you. We value your time. People have busy days, but we really felt that we needed to have a little bit of a conversation, kind of share some thoughts. And what I want to start with is what tonight is not about. And so tonight isn't an opportunity to discuss individual situations or operational issues, like are we doing this or that, or when is this happening? We're very open to those discussions too. That can happen individually with Dave, Sheila, myself. We can reconvene this whole group again. But I think tonight's message is important enough to stand alone. And that is really looking back at the challenge of COVID for Clearbrook, how Clearbrook responded, and then really the challenge going forward and asking for your help. And so back in the second week of March, as things were just starting to get a little bit of a situation going, the leadership team kind of helped me to get educated. I was a little bit of a doubter, and as we continue to look at the data and the information and listen to our governor and take direction from public health, we decided to get ahead of the curve, seeing that this wasn't something that was going to go away. We anticipated maybe bad things, maybe worse things, but I think it was the right call, and I appreciated the leadership team guiding me that way. And so we shut down residential to visitors, and then we shut down day programs. And first of all, I know as a parent, the young man in my life who I worry about the most is still a vulnerable person, even with all his abilities. And so I totally understand the family members that you entrust us with, how they, in the best of situations, are vulnerable people. And that's why they're with us. And I know the anxiety that can cause. And so I truly understand the anxiety of not allowing visits at a time when those vulnerable people are even more vulnerable with COVID all around. The isolation for them, the separation for the families, we didn't take lightly. But again, first and foremost has been the safety of those people that you've entrusted us with, and we've taken that incredibly serious. I would say the challenge of COVID, we have seen just incredible responses. First of all, I would say from the families. Initially, with all the uncertainty and the sudden moves and the seriousness of those moves, there were some people that were angry and upset. None of us took it personal. We understood that's what was going to happen. All of a sudden, you can't visit. All of a sudden, they can't go home. All of a sudden, they're not going to the day program. And as the headlines on the TV, newspapers increased, your anxiety increased. And so sometimes we were just there for you to vent at. But we still did the right thing. And I've really appreciated, on behalf of all the staff, those people that apologized. And there was no need to, but it was good. And all those families, all the parents, brothers and sisters who have praised the staff and praised Clearbrook. A lot of times words are just words, but those words have meant so much as we face such a significant challenge. COVID has presented us with a lot of opportunities for some incredible moments. Moments where the staff excelled, moments where the families excelled, moments where the community has excelled in supporting what we do. The staff, every layer of the staff. So I've always been respectful and appreciative of the hands-on staff, the DSPs, the people delivering the service. But after the last 4 months, the respect has just grown leaps and bounds. The appreciation, the awe of what they've done. To recognize that those people who are working in the homes, the CILAs and the ICFs, who aren't paid anywhere near what their value is in routine times, now in the time of COVID, put themselves at risk, their families at risk, and continued to deliver. We took day program staff, uprooted them, and spread them across all the residential sites because there was no more day program. And now we needed to cover a whole nother shift, the Monday through Friday AMs, to disrupt people from their teams and put them in strange environments, sometimes with people they don't know, and yet they came. No one quit. And then after the first month, when we were pretty proud of ourselves, but still leery that we hadn't had any situations, when it finally hit, and hit in a wave, and hit significantly, again, nobody quit. They kept coming. Those DSPs were magnificent. I'll share a quick story because I think it spells out for me just how magnificent. In our large ICF, it's an 85-bed facility, and in reality, it's almost a nursing home. People still have meaningful lives there, but they're frail people. The vast majority are in wheelchairs. The vast majority are over 60, many over 70. They're medically fragile. That was always Clearbrook's fear. If COVID gets in there, we're going to lose people. And they're heavily staffed, and they have nurses. But as you know now, COVID really doesn't matter whether there's a nurse there or not. The staff were incredible. So we had all the PPE and all the protective equipment, but still to go in day after day. And because we're short-staffed, to work double shifts, to be all suited up, to take personal care of people who are presenting themselves as a risk to you, but out of your love for them, you do the right thing day after day. Magnificent. I couldn't look myself in the mirror unless I went over there to see exactly what they were facing. And Jessica Smart, but she's the vice president of the ICFs. She got all the equipment I needed and put it in the car, and I didn't know what the hell I was doing. So she showed me how to put on the gloves and the masks and the face guards and the overcoat. And I felt like I was walking into a fire. I could feel my heartbeat in my head. I walked in knowing that I was surrounded by COVID, because at that time we had had dozens of identified people, half a dozen up at the hospital, dozens of staff, several up at the hospital, many people not doing well. And we lost people. People died over at the Commons. Walking into that environment, terrified, not real proud of that, and looking around at the staff as they helped each other get dressed and laughed and played, and then went forward, looking forward, excited to see the people that they're taking care of and trying to make their day special. All suited up, sweaty as hell. I'm sure afraid on the inside of what they were exposed to, but knowing that their work was that important. I was there for an hour and I was exhausted. I went home, stripped down in the garage, showered off for a half hour, and those clothes went into a laundry separate from everybody else. And I was counting 14 days before I felt like I didn't screw up my family. And then you realize that the staff were doing that every day and doing it magnificently. And leadership staff, many from the day program who didn't have much to do, volunteering to work alongside the DSPs. That's the DSPs. The managers, for safety reasons, we wanted to keep as few people in contact with the residents. So the Qs and managers and the leadership staff, they were in contact with the homes, but not in the homes. That wouldn't have been smart. But they worked their tails off, making sure that the staff had everything they needed, making sure that families were listened to and talked to, making sure that people felt connected and supported, giving whatever was needed to make sure that they had everything to do the job that we expected them to do. And that's not a job that's 9 to 5. It's 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. And they were exceptional. No complaints, only asking, what else can I do? The executive team, the office dwellers, every day throughout the first 3.5 months, we were on the phone every day at 10 o'clock, doing a routine check of everyone's health status by site, doing a routine check of family situations, doing a routine check of our supply situations. And that was scary times because supplies, the PPE, the gloves, the masks, and all those things were missing, gone, and unavailable. And we had to, almost like black market operation, call, dig, and scrape. And sometimes the terms were cash up front and we'll deliver it in 2 to 3 weeks, maybe. Those were supplies that used to cost $1 a piece, and now we're $5 a piece. And not knowing if we were going to get them after we wrote the check, but knowing that we had no option, no choice. And the number of people that were searching the internet, searching their contacts, working their networks to get anything and everything we could to protect the staff and the individuals. It was incredible work. The leadership staff, the executive staff, coordinating throughout the whole time, supporting each other, whether it was a residential vice president or a day program, it didn't matter. We were all in it together, totally aware of what was going on so that we could support each other. And in the worst of times, being there for each other, just to be. We know it was hard on families. We understand that, especially when people die. We had 6 people die. We had 5 die in the Commons, 1 in CILA. I feel bad with COVID that people can't have their weddings. They can wait, and they can redo it. And birthday parties, you'll have one next year. But when someone dies, it's a once-in-a-lifetime event, and you want to gather, remember, embrace, and you couldn't do that. In fact, when you went to the hospital, your family couldn't even visit you. So you were separated, almost dead before you died. And then when there was a death, and then another, hard for the families not to gather, but I'll tell you, very hard for the staff who have become families to those guys. And they couldn't say goodbye, and yet they had to show up again for the next shift. The cumulative weight of all that was incredible, and yet people continue to respond. There was a lot of good, a lot of effort, a lot of energy, and a lot of beauty. One of the staff had a son that plays the violin, and so he would show up at a CILA, put his chair in the front lawn, the guys would open their windows, and he'd play for them, just bringing a little bit of special. Development staff organized a parade to go around and beep horns and let people know, hey, we're thinking about you, remembering it's still fun at Clearbrook. Come on out and cheer. Parents were incredible, dropping off food, dropping off toilet paper, dropping off anything and everything that they could bear and spare. The one image that sticks in my head, and I always just lose it, is a mom who's very close, like all moms are to her daughter, and couldn't be with her, but came and visited on the front between the storm window of the door, and they kissed, and someone captured that picture of them kissing through a window and beaming like it was the best embrace ever. So I think in the worst of times, sometimes we see the best. And those are just a few examples. There's an enormous amount of examples of what went on. But it is a challenge, and it continues to be. So we had many more than 60 people on staff who had confirmed cases, many of them in hospitals, many of them on respirators, many of them that had to go through rehab, and one who died. Sadly, the one who died was a man who wasn't an old person with a lot of health issues. He was a vital younger man who was improving and then wasn't, and a few hours later gone. The individuals who died ran the gamut of age and gender. And again, no one was able to hold their hand when they left, and no one was able to say goodbye or sorry. Those are challenges. But challenges that I think the staff were up to and the family supported. I have told the board and anyone who would listen, I wouldn't wish this on anybody. There's no place else I would have wanted to be than at Clearbrook during this. What it allowed myself, the leadership staff, and the DSPs to do was to be at our best when things were at their worst. And I don't want to trust anyone else to that. And I believe we just knocked it out of the park as best we could and continue to do that. The challenge remains. It's a quiet time. All of us check the numbers every day. All of us still are in touch to see who is ill, who may be getting ill. All of us watch the directives from the governor in public health. All of us are terrified of the day programs opening and people mingling in greater ways. All of us are supportive of the visits from families. It's so important. And terrified of those visits. COVID hasn't gone. It seems like it's coming back. We're better prepared this time, but the challenge is still there. I would just want to share with you, it's not the priority, but it's real. Responding to the challenge cost a lot of money that was not in our budget. So the PPE supplies, like I said, a little surgical mask, which is 99 cents, all of a sudden is $5.99, and I need 100,000 of them. N95 masks, which we needed when people were sick and we wanted to do the best. All of a sudden, you know, things that were $1.95 were $6.95, and we needed 30,000 of them. We needed gloves nonstop, all the time. We needed gowns nonstop, all the time. I want to say, you guys received the letters, so I don't want to speak out of turn, but at least $300,000 there. We also recognize that staff who make $12 and $13 an hour, that's not enough. And so for all the staff, once a month, the full-time staff received a $300 bonus, part-time staff $150. For staff who worked in sites that we deemed sick because there was a certain level of symptom, temperature, difficulty breathing, discomfort, they all received double time until the person was symptom-free for at least 72 hours. In the Commons, that place of 85 beds full of vulnerable people and people working double shifts, instead of sending those families a sick person home at the end of their shift, and instead of those moms, many of them having to go home and then do mom things after being exhausted, we paid for a hotel. I believe it was Marriott. They were incredibly good to us. But to give someone 8 hours of peace and quiet by themselves after going through 16 hours of hell was important, but costly. And so I believe the letters say about 1.3 million. And at this time, we continue to build up our supplies, anticipating the worst, hopefully not. We continue to build up hopefully some reserve to be able to face what we don't even know what will be. And so the challenge is still there. Our response, all of you should be appreciative and proud, but it's not over. So that is where we have been. That is where we're at today. And where we're going, no one has the map, but we are planning to do the things that we do best and do it well. So with that, I'd like to ask Dave really to add in from his perspective as a Assistant Vice President and Director of the CILA services, and all of you know him very well as an incredible leader and a very good soul.
Thank you very much, Tony. Appreciate that. I do want to start out by thanking all of the family members who have taken some time to be with us this evening, and on a very personal level, I'd like to thank all of you for the opportunity to work with your family member. It's something that we take very seriously here. It's been an incredible time. I'd like to thank all of the CILA staff and the managers who have joined us this evening as well. I wanted to take some time with the families this evening to express my profound gratitude for the work of our amazing staff. During the past 4 months, I've been continually amazed and humbled by the work of the staff. Day after day, the staff have confronted dangers and challenges of leaving the safety and comfort of their own families to come and care for our family here at Clearbrook. Not once during this time have I had a staff refuse to help, refuse to come in, or refuse to do their duty. I have had many staff who have been worried, staff who have been scared, staff who have been uncertain, but each of them came in and allowed us to continue to serve our residents and keep them as safe and comfortable as possible under the circumstances. The compassion and the dedication I've witnessed from the Clearbrook team during this time has been remarkable. The very first time we had a resident in CILA exhibit COVID symptoms and was subsequently diagnosed, we spoke with the staff at the home. We explained to all of the staff that we'd be increasing their rate of pay. In fact, doubling their pay while they're working in a home where we've identified someone with an active case. One of the staff, who many of you may know and has worked in CILA for many years, is named Bola. We explained this to Bola. Bola's response was interesting. She says, you don't need to do that. You don't have to pay me more to do the right thing, and you don't have to pay me to work with my family. I recall another staff coming in early on, and he called in because he was feeling, his wife, unfortunately, was feeling ill and was diagnosed with COVID. He made arrangements for his wife and family to be cared for. He was tested. Thankfully, he was negative. He moved out of his family home so he could continue to come to work with his CILA family. What I find amazing is that is one of 5 people I personally know who moved away from his family so he could continue to come to work. The coordinators, the queues, the management staff, and the schedulers have had their professional lives and their personal lives completely uprooted during this time. We've asked them to provide support for the homes at all hours, often spending their days going from store to store, buying supplies and groceries, sometimes a dozen eggs at a time, a roll of toilet paper at a time, a gallon of milk at a time. We serve about 270 people in CILA, and we have to do it on very limited supplies at the grocery store because we're part of the community. Our folks stepped up. They're working incredible amounts of hours. They're putting themselves and their families at risk by going to these stores, supplying them. Despite the enormous toll that it's taken on them emotionally, we've been able to continue our mission and support of all our residents. In this very region that we're talking with tonight, we have remarkable stories of dedication. Shayna, Kaylee, Jessica, and Nicole. They're the queues for the Western region. Each has provided incredible supports for their homes, making deliveries of needed supplies, going to the homes to offer support for staff and residents. Tony mentioned the queues and how we asked them not to go into the homes. We wanted to limit their exposure as well as keep managers in reserve in the event we needed to use them for direct care staff. So unpopular was my decision that the queue group started going out to the homes and having socially distant contests so they could send pictures of me at their homes far away from the clients. Our competition was fun. We had drive-by parties. We had musicians come out. And we had an awful lot of silliness, which I think was really important for everybody. I feel that we've been blessed to have all of these managers. And then there are our residents. During this time, I have learned so much from them what they're capable of. I've been continually impressed and amazed by their overall depth of understanding of the crisis, as well as their patience and empathy. While it's been a difficult time, it's also been a great learning experience for those of us that have gone through it. I also have to thank all of you and all of the families who have offered your support, dropped off food and supplies, and offered words of encouragement. It means more than you'll know. As we continue to navigate this crisis, I want to assure all of you that we will continue to monitor and revise our procedures as our depth of understanding increases. We will continue to follow the guidelines that have guided us so far, the CDC, the Illinois Department of Public Health, and the Illinois Department of Human Services standards. We will continue to communicate with all of you as we have. We've developed a system where we've been reaching out to you, been receiving emails and phone calls. We will continue to that. We will continue to communicate and share information and policies as they develop. We will be working with all of you through the management group as we move into new phases and as we continue to open the homes to more visitors and freedoms. But now I want to introduce somebody that I've had the great pleasure of working alongside for a number of years. This person has a background as a professional in our field. She's a member of the Clearbrook Board of Directors, and she is most importantly the mom of Danny, a resident and a member of Clearbrook's family for 17 years. Sharon White.
Thank you, Dave. That is very, very kind of you. Thank you so much for the honor of speaking with you tonight. My husband, Phil, and I have 3 boys, and our oldest son, Daniel, is autistic. He's 38 and came to Clearbrook when he was 20. He lives at the Kennecott House in Arlington Heights with 6 other clients. I'm a parent, but not a public speaker, but will do my best to tell you my Clearbrook COVID experience. I remember it well. It started on March 13th when our fantastic Q, Ashley Barnes, called to tell me that Clearbrook was going into isolation and we would not be able to see Danny or take him home. Danny's birthday was 3 days later that he shared with another client, and we would not be able to have his party at the Kennecott House, which we did every year. Phil and I were worried, but we thought we would see how it goes and take it from there. Everything was going smoothly until the end of May when we received an email from Ashley. It told us that one of the clients was in the hospital and his COVID test just came back positive. I was so worried, but was told by the staff that the clients would be monitored and temperatures taken and be watched carefully. The client that was in the hospital tragically passed away, as well as subsequently a staff member. We were heartbroken. This was the client that shared Danny's birthday, and terrified at the same time, and felt guilty that maybe we should have taken Danny home, and it was a difficult time. Clearbrook calculated the time the client first showed symptoms, and we made it to the 14th day when one of the clients just gave a cough, a little cough. And Clearbrook immediately took him to the hospital, had him tested for COVID, and because he showed no more symptoms, he was sent home by the hospital to the house. Clearbrook was very careful and treated him as if he had COVID, and had all the clients quarantined to their rooms. They ate there, they were checked there, they were constantly monitored by the staff. Dave even had a partition built with a door, so the client would be far away from the guys. The staff wore PPE equipment, and it came back the client had asymptomatic COVID. The staff were all tested as well, as were some of the clients, and everyone was negative. It still amazes me, like Tony said, that the staff are willing to come into a COVID house. I would call every day asking, how is Danny? How is the staff? Holding my breath every day. And they would always say, Sharon, don't worry, everyone's fine. In addition, as a parent, we feel the staff have been guardian angels to our son, Danny, and the other clients. I really can't think of anything Clearbrook could have done more to keep the clients safe. But I'm happy to say we are 5 weeks COVID-free. What a relief. I want to thank Tony and Dave for doing a wonderful job communicating to all of us, either through email or phone calls, letting us know how Clearbrook is doing, calming our fears, and being transparent. I believe it's not by luck that Clearbrook, this huge organization, is COVID-free. From administration down to all the staff, they've worked so hard to keep all the clients safe as possible. I remember recently talking to a board member who was on the finance committee and telling him I was so glad that Danny could be with Clearbrook for the rest of his life. And he told me, Sharon, that really costs money. And I said, but Danny's funded. And he said to me, the state does not cover all of Clearbrook's costs. I really had no idea and was totally surprised. That is why it is so important and beneficial to Clearbrook to donate and support this wonderful organization as we have and will continue to do. Any gift will help. Phil and I have participated and supported some of the wonderful fundraisers that Clearbrook has had in the past, like the Friends Wine Tasting, Jelly Belly Days, the Shining Star Ball, Walk and Run, the golf outing. There are so many to mention that I'm sure you would enjoy, but they had to be canceled this year because of COVID, as you well know. I just want to conclude by telling a short story when we finally saw Danny a few weeks ago, when Clearbrook allowed visits with social distancing. The staff thought it would be difficult because Danny is used to going home with us almost every weekend for an overnight and always looks so forward to them. But Musalu, who was like a father to Danny and our guardian angel, told us to come and to bring Danny's favorite things, his puzzles, which he adores. We raced over to the back of the house, so excited with such anticipation to see Danny after 4 months. He looked happy. He came out of the house. I put the puzzles down, and he walked up, picked up the puzzles, and said, bye. I go, bye? I go, Danny, Mommy and Daddy are not going home, and you can do your puzzle right now. And he was so happy. He was happy to see us, happy to be doing his puzzles, so comfortable. And when we got home, got back into the car, I said to my husband, we are so lucky that Danny's in Clearbrook. We know that when we are not here anymore, Danny will be just fine. What an incredible gift Clearbrook has given us. I feel so grateful and lucky that Danny is with Clearbrook. I'm sure I'm speaking for other parents as well when I say thank you to Clearbrook for keeping our family members safe, cared for, and happy under your continued care. Thank you everyone for joining us tonight, and I know Tony has a few more words.
Tony, you're muted.
it was brilliant stuff too. I say, just Sharon and Dave both, thank you very much. Just further illustrates just how special Clearbrook is. And facing this challenge, this pandemic has given us the opportunity to just show just how good, despite all the ugly, just all the beauty that's come from it. But tonight has a purpose, and sharing these thoughts, these stories, and some of the facts is, as we look forward, we have dug ourselves a little bit of a hole. We're not in danger, but anticipating what we might face, we need to be as strong as possible. We can't be at a disadvantage if we need to be at our best. And so for those families that we're meeting with, and you're the first group, those residential families that we have been responding to and serving the best we possibly can, we're asking for your help right now. I'm asking you to make a gift to Clearbrook so that we can get back to square one. There are many ways you can support. I'll read this because our development staff wants to make sure I get it right. Many ways you can support Clearbrook now and for the future. You can make a one-time gift. You can pledge to make a gift over the next 3 years. You can set up a monthly gift. You can name Clearbrook in your estate plan. The state pays us to do the basics. We never are settling for the basics at Clearbrook, always exceptional. And when we face the challenge of COVID, it's so much harder to do the exceptional and so much more expensive. Everybody we serve deserves the best. And in the worst of times, they deserve even more. Without your assistance, without your help, we won't be in a position to do that. And so tonight I ask you to, when the call is over, to think of what it is that you could possibly afford to share, to give. And I ask you out of a sense of obligation to the people that we serve. We're a large organization serving many people. Many families don't have the means to step up financially. They've stepped up in different ways. All the families have stepped up in different ways. But tonight it's about financial support. The resources we need to do the job that we have to do and the job that we might have to do in the future. It's essential that we have those resources. And so I hope tonight, listening to myself, listening to Dave, listening to Sharon, that you've kind of got a sense of what the last 4 months have been, our response, and the pride that we have in that response. We didn't come out unscathed. We have scars that we will bear the rest of our lives, but we have a pride and a job well done. We just ask that you help us so that we can continue to do that work. Thank you very much.